Today, waiting feels unbearable. You pull out your phone at a red light, you check social media while standing in line, you watch videos while your food heats up in the microwave. Most people can't tolerate even 30 seconds of doing absolutely nothing. But for nearly all of human history, there was no way to escape waiting. No phones, no books, no music, no screens. And if you think about it, ancient humans spent an enormous amount of their lives waiting. Waiting for animals to appear, waiting for storms to pass, waiting for wounds to heal, waiting for winter to end, waiting for food to cook over a fire, waiting for the sun to rise. So, what did they actually do during all those empty hours? The answer reveals something surprising about the human mind. Because ancient humans weren't trying to avoid boredom. They were using waiting for something modern humans have almost forgotten how to do. Think. Let's start with a simple fact. For most of human history, survival involved long periods of inactivity. Movies often portray ancient life as constant action. People are shown running after animals, fighting predators, and struggling every minute of every day. But anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies found something very different. Groups such as the Hadza of Tanzania and the Ju-Hwanzi of southern Africa spend far less time working than most people imagine. Hunting is unpredictable. Gathering is seasonal. Some days are busy. Others involve hours of simply sitting, observing, and waiting. A hunter tracking an animal might remain motionless for long stretches of time. A group waiting near a water source could spend half a day doing almost nothing. There were entire afternoons when the most productive thing a person could do was wait. And unlike us, they couldn't distract themselves. There was nowhere else for their attention to go. Only the world around them and the thoughts inside their heads. This may sound boring, but boredom itself is a surprisingly modern problem. The word boredom didn't even become common in English until the 18th and 19th centuries. Ancient people certainly experienced frustration and restlessness, but they lived in an environment that constantly demanded attention. A rustling bush could mean food or danger. Clouds gathering on the horizon could determine whether your family ate next week. The world was never truly empty. Every sound mattered. Every track in the dirt mattered. Every change in the wind mattered. What looks like waiting to us often looked like observation to them. They weren't staring into space, they were studying reality. Researchers have discovered something fascinating about the human brain. When you're not focused on a specific task, a network inside your brain becomes active. Scientists call it the default mode network. This network activates during daydreaming, reflection, memory, and imagination. In other words, when you're doing nothing. Your brain is actually doing something. A lot of something. It's connecting ideas, replaying experiences, simulating possible futures, solving problems. Ancient humans likely spent far more time in this mental state than modern humans do. Not because they were wiser, because they had fewer distractions. Waiting wasn't empty. It was filled with thought. And that may have changed the course of human evolution. Imagine a hunter sitting beside a river 50,000 years ago. Nothing happens for an hour. Then another. The water flows. Birds move through the trees. The sun slowly shifts across the sky. What occupies his mind? Perhaps he remembers yesterday's hunt. Perhaps he replays a mistake he made. Perhaps he imagines where the animals will move tomorrow. Perhaps he thinks about a story told around the fire. Or perhaps, for the first time, he wonders a question that has never existed before. Why are we here? What happens after death? What are the stars? Many anthropologists believe that human intelligence didn't emerge only from action. It emerged from reflection, the ability to mentally travel through time, to revisit the past, to imagine the future, to think about things that aren't physically present. Waiting provided the perfect environment for this ability to develop. In fact, some researchers argue that waiting may have been one of humanity's greatest teachers. Consider hunting. Early humans couldn't simply chase every animal they saw. That wastes energy. Instead, successful hunters learned patience. They learned to sit quietly, to observe patterns, to predict behavior, to resist immediate impulses. These skills sound simple, but they require advanced cognition. Patience is not passive. Patience is a form of intelligence, the ability to delay action until the right moment. And over thousands of generations, natural selection may have rewarded people who could wait effectively. Not the fastest, not the strongest, the most patient. But waiting wasn't only practical, it may also have shaped human creativity. Psychologists have repeatedly found that moments of mind wandering often produce creative insights. Many people report their best ideas arriving while walking, showering, or staring out a window, not while actively trying to solve a problem, but while their minds are free. Ancient humans experienced this state constantly. Hours of waiting created space for imagination, and imagination is one of humanity's greatest superpowers. Before every invention existed as a physical object, it existed as a thought. Before every myth was spoken aloud, it existed as an idea. Before every civilization was built, someone had to imagine it first. Waiting gave the mind room to wander, and wandering minds may have built the world. Then, there is another possibility. Ancient humans may have been far more comfortable with silence than we are. Today, silence feels strange. Many people sleep with background noise, exercise with headphones, study with music, work with podcasts, eat while watching videos. The average person consumes information almost continuously. But for most of history, silence was normal. Not complete silence, of course. The natural sounds of wind, insects, birds, and water were everywhere. But human-made noise was rare. And in that quieter world, people became familiar with their own thoughts. Modern humans often treat solitude as something to escape. Ancient humans may have treated it as part of life. Not good, not bad, just normal. This raises an uncomfortable question. Why are we so afraid of waiting today? Part of the answer lies in technology. Every moment of waiting has become an opportunity for stimulation. A few seconds in an elevator, a minute in line, 5 minutes before class begins. Out comes the phone. And yet studies consistently show that constant stimulation changes how attention works. The brain adapts to frequent novelty. The result is that ordinary moments begin to feel intolerable. Not because they're actually unpleasant, because we're no longer accustomed to them. Waiting feels harder when you've forgotten how to wait. In 2014, researchers conducted experiments where participants were asked to sit alone with their thoughts. No phones, no books, no distractions, just their minds. Many participants found the experience surprisingly difficult. Some even preferred mild electric shocks over sitting quietly with their own thoughts. People voluntarily chose discomfort rather than being alone with their minds. For ancient humans, that choice didn't exist. Waiting was unavoidable, and perhaps that is why they developed a different relationship with thought itself. They weren't constantly escaping their minds. They lived inside them. Of course, ancient humans weren't philosophers all day. Much of their waiting involved practical concerns. Food, weather, family, safety, but those concerns created something profound. Time for reflection, time for observation, time for stories, time for imagination. The very abilities that separate humans from most other animals. Waiting wasn't a gap between life. Waiting was life. A hunter waiting for prey, a mother waiting for her child to return, a group waiting for the rains, a community waiting for winter to end. These weren't interruptions. They were part of the human experience. And perhaps that's what we've lost. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors spent countless hours with nothing to do except observe the world and think. They watched clouds drift across the sky. They listened to rivers. They sat beside fires. They waited. Not because they wanted to, because there was no alternative. And during those quiet hours, they imagined stories, solved problems, planned futures, created beliefs, and slowly became the species we are today. The next time you reach for your phone after 5 seconds of waiting, consider this. For almost all of human history, waiting wasn't something to avoid. It was where some of humanity's most important thinking happened. Your ancestors spent thousands of generations sitting quietly with their thoughts. And somewhere deep inside your mind, that ancient ability is probably still there, waiting, just like they did.